Alright, hey everybody, it's Scott here from Chrome Owl Customs. I'm just going to do a quick little video here to show you how to take a car off the card, leaving the blister and the card intact, so that it can be all put back together and look nice and pretty. So, a couple things you're going to need. Number one, you're going to need some lacquer thinner, and you're also going to need some super glue. This is Loctite. It's a gel super glue. I like it a little bit better than the liquid. It seems to just to work a little bit better. So what we've got here is we've got a asphalt assault. I decided to blow it out a little bit, throw some engine work in there, and some new wheels. So I want to hang this with my collection, and I want to hang it up on the card. So what we got to do is we got to take a asphalt assault here, and it's in the card, but I need the card, so we're gonna take it apart. So the best way that I found to do this, you work from the back of the card, you work with the lacquer thinner. So what I do is I take a nice broad paintbrush and I get it good and wet with the lacquer thinner, and then what I do is I just paint it along the bottom edge, and you want to paint it on sort of liberally. So it's kind of important that you work in a ventilated area, but you don't want it to be too ventilated, and I wouldn't use a fan. And the reason that I say that is because the lacquer thinner evaporates very, very quickly, and you really need it to take a few minutes to soak into the card. So, like I said, we run sort of along the bottom edge, and we run along the side edges here, and then what we want to do is we want to let it sit for about 30 seconds or so. So, gonna let that chill, just let it sit there and soak, and then we'll be ready to remove the blister from the backing of the card, and it should come off nice and clean. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the front of the card, and what you sort of want to do here is you just want to pull back on the card a little bit and see if the blister will lift off of it, and there you go. You see it happen at little bit of pressure and that blister just lifts right up. Now sometimes it'll take a little bit of the paper with it, but usually it takes it in a pretty clean line, so that when you put it back together and glue it back together, you end up lining up the pieces, like the ripped paper and the parts that are left on the blister sort of line back up, and it's almost invisible when you get it. So I take the blade of an X-Acto knife and I just sort of work it along the bottom edge where that lacquer thinner has basically dissolved the glue that's already in place there. Just a little bit of pressure, and it should come right up. Alright, and there we go. So once we've got the back of the card, once we've got the card and the blister separated, and essentially all we have to do is swap off the car. You can see that this one's splitting a little bit, but that's okay because I'm going to put it right back in. So it's not going to be too bad a deal. So once the blister lifts up like a hinge like that, we just sort of drop the car right out of it. Take the new car we want to put in, and in it goes. So now what I like to do here is I hold this back like this, and I take my super glue. And like I said, I use the gel type from Loctite. You can use any super glue that you want, but this one I like the control of. And we just sort of run a little bit of a bead along where the card and the blister meet. Nice and thin. You don't need too much glue. I mean, after all, it's basically paper on paper, or plastic on paper here that we're joining. So we don't need a ton of glue. And the less glue you use, the less excess you have to deal with at the end. So once we've got the glue on there, we make sure the car's sitting in the blister real nice, and then we drop it back on like that. Now what I'll do is I'll take a little toothpick here, and I'll just run it along here to kind of spread the glue nice and evenly, and you'll see that it basically, like I said, it fills that line right in, lines that stuff right back up, so that the card and the blister are back together as one. And then we run right like along here, and that's all we got to do. Now, if you want, you can take some binder clips and you can clip it on the bottom and on the sides there to let it dry, but the super glue dries so quickly that essentially you end up with a good seal almost immediately. So if you look at this, I mean, if you really scrutinize it, you'll see that it's definitely been separated from the card, but once it's hanging back up on the wall, you'd never know it wasn't fresh off the card. Anyway, enjoy, and good luck with yours. Thanks.